Slide that one out.
The Optimum Idol Pearl is a true Pearl Optimum Idol, and it releases on August 23rd. Tobias will be in this one, and will take a more user-friendly approach. No big words or sales pitches, we're just going to help you figure out whether the OP should be on your list or not. Back with the monologue, but again, if I don't say it, you don't hear it. We are, of course, at Royal Crest Lanes in Lawrence, Kansas, bowling on the Kegel Chromium Challenge pattern. The lane graph is linked in the description if you want to take a look at the details. Make sure to also check the description for instructional videos, links, and discount codes. There's some actually good stuff down there. It's not just sucker traps. The Optimum Idol Pearl features the famous and popular Icon core from the Idol series, boosted by the AI outer core, which buffs the core strength, makes it more of a heckin' chonker. 247RG 056 differential, making it very similar to the core in the Summit from a number standpoint at least. It's about the strongest symmetric core you're going to find, so very strong rolling, high flaring, early controllable symmetric core. We also have the very strong Microtrax Pearl cover from the exotic gem with the out-of-box Reactagloss polish on it, which is where he left it. It's been looking just fine now if you like factory shine. On paper, this should be the perfect complement to the Optimum, provided you keep them both at their out-of-box surfaces. With them being the same formula, they'll be a little too close if they're both the same surface. It's an earlier, rounder version of the Summit Peak, or about a half a step up from an original Zen to help you get an idea where it lives. The OP is about as strong of a shiny symmetric ball as you're going to get, at least on paper. On the lane for Tobias, it's very oddly clean. Now we're going to see a very interesting difference here when we get Zach's take on this one and the Summit Ascent. This is once again a medium volume, medium long pattern that a lot of things can hang out on. For those that might say, well, it's strong, maybe it's burning up, nothing burns up on this pattern at this center, and that's why we use it. The Optimum looks just fine, the Harsh Reality, Magic Gem, Exotic, so on and so forth. So this shiny symmetric ball is definitely not burning up. It's just not nearly as strong for Tobias as it should be on paper. Very round shaping, very smooth and controllable, and I'm going to hammer this home until people get it or until I stop making videos. Pearl obviously does not always mean long and flippy. Even shiny, because this ball has such a strong cover formula, it's going to have a slower response to friction. Weaker cover formulas hydroplane more on oil, which means they can respond harder or sharper to dry. Stronger cover formulas get more traction in oil, theoretically at least, so they're slower or smoother on dry. Tobias didn't need to say anything to me here. It's really round, really clean, and really slow. I've seen it be strong for other people in other videos, but it seems like it's only strong for people that everything else is strong for. I feel like on this pattern, in this center, we get one of the best reads on ball reaction out there. And now I would expect this ball to be a little stronger for everyone else than it is for Tobias. It's definitely stronger for Zach than it is for Tobias, but it's still not going to be turning sideways from fourth arrow either. This one I think is going to be happiest from virtually the same places the original is. It's just going to be cleaner and a handful of boards weaker. Now on paper it should be a low to mid 2 ball, but on the lane it's a very high 3 ball for Tobias, probably a low 2 ball for Zach. It's just not actually strong enough in reality to make it up there super far. It's not quite Summit Peak strong, it's not Sublime strong, it's pretty close. But it'd be a nice step down from the Optimum or Phase 2 for sure. Comparing it to the original first, I think you can see the very familiar overall reaction shape, the round climbing continuous motion. The Optimum definitely has plenty of dig. It also has surface on it, of course, but remember I did suggest to keep these both a box to keep a more reasonable distance between the ball reactions, and that's kind of the point. I'll never understand why people buy different balls to have a varied arsenal, but then always let them all lane shine, or just try to get them drilled to all work on the fresh on a house shot. Some balls, like the original Optimum, just may not see a lot of lane time. Something like the Pearl, if you leave it shiny, might be your go-to ball for house shots. Tobias thought that even though it wasn't quite enough for the fresh on this pattern, it'd still be a good ball down from the original, or really good on a regular house shot. Next we'll throw in a quick comparison to its Storm counterpart, the Summit Peak. Both virtually identical cores. The Summits have tended to have a little more tumbly directional shape, or at least the Peak and the Ascent do, while the Idol series has always been rounder. The peak and OP are very similar on length. Both roll strong and heavy, but are still pretty clean and easy down the lane, but the OP stops moving left pretty quickly while the peak is able to pick up and get back. It's still on the slower side, and it doesn't necessarily want to get super deep, but it still seems to be able to do it a whole lot easier than the OP. If you're a straighter player that wants a heavier roll and something cleaner that's going to be controllable and help you keep your angles closed, I think you've got something in the OP. And if you're a higher rev player that likes banging on stuff or slow hooking it, same thing. Once again, the Optimum Idol Pearl releases on August 23rd with the Summit Ascent. Don't forget to check out the description for all the codes and links. There's some really good and helpful stuff down there. And make sure code ROSEDOLL10 gets entered to checkout at CoolWick to knock 10% off. This video was brought to you by Panda Bear Productions. We put the in bowling. Thanks for watching, and may the strikes be with you.
Whoops. Go to outside. It's not gonna come back. Might be okay. See, it looks good from that zone, but it does throw pins around, that's for sure. Thought that one was good.